Oscar, thank you very much for your time and for your availability for this interview. We're running these interviews to try to make sense of different career choices and career paths, and interviewing people who have interesting journeys, so we can extract some lessons from that and some takeaways for those who are watching us. Maybe it would be good just to start off with a brief introduction about yourself and a short overview of what your career has been so far, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I am really glad to be here and talking a bit about my experience. Well, my name is Oscar. I was born in April 1994, so I just turned 26 in the middle of the global pandemic. When I was younger, I studied at a international school here in Barcelona, where I was born. I studied in a French lycée, and when I finished my first grade education, I went on to studying BA, Business Administration at Universitat Pompeu Fabra in Barcelona. When I finished my degree, or while I was finishing my degree, I actually started my first and still the one I'm working at company, which is called Project Lobster. We actually had a student from on gap year come with us, do an internship for a couple months now, and it's actually finishing this week, so we're a bit touchy leaving, but it's been a really good experience. And yeah, I've been doing that for, I think it is 3 years now since I graduated, and we've grown to become one of the top 100 fashion brands to look up in the next decade. We have a team of, I think it is 18 people. Yeah, I think that's it. We've raised money from venture capital and all that stuff.
Yeah. And tell us a bit more about Project Lobster. What is it all about? And what inspired you to start it?
Okay, Project Lobster was a really personal project that I started when I was finishing my last year of business administration, because I had an experience, decently bad experience when buying prescription glasses in Barcelona. I thought it could have been much better, and I was just like trying to explore whether or not or how the customer experience of buying glasses could be changed, and how we could be able to create a really stellar experience, because I thought mine was pretty bad in comparison. It felt like really old and old-fashioned, but I thought that was probably the standard, and I was actually right. Like, the standard experience of buying glasses is really subpar, and that is a product that 65% of the population on Earth needs. So I thought maybe this is something that I can pursue and see how it can be done and how it can be improved. And so what we created is an eyewear brand. It actually launched 2 years ago now, more or less, even though we had been developing it for a whole year before we launched, and almost a whole year. And what we basically do is recreate contemporary eyewear using traditional manufacturing techniques and top-notch materials, top-notch lenses, state-of-the-art technology, in order to create a really high-quality product at an affordable price, because we cut down the middlemen. And with that, we are able to drive down the cost of putting the product into people's faces. And that's what we do basically right now. We create prescription eyewear, like prescription glasses, for sub 100 euros, made of the highest quality materials. And we have our own retail stores. We have 3 stores in Spain, opening more this year, even hopefully if COVID lets us do it. And we also sell online, obviously. And that's basically it. Yeah.
So it seems like you transformed your own personal difficulty with a particular, or an experience that you had that didn't go so positively, into an opportunity here to come up with a business. How clear was it for you that you wanted to do this? I mean, if you go back to those very early days when you're coming up with that idea, did you have other things in your mind about, the way forward? You're still quite young, so I can imagine that you have, of course, many questions about which way to go. Or was it absolutely clear that you wanted to do this, and that was your only choice at some point, and went for it pretty quickly?
Well, actually, like a year before that, I was trying, or not even a year before that, I'd say, almost a year probably. I was starting to tinker with the idea of starting a business with a really good friend of mine from university. We're tinkering with the idea of starting businesses in the beverages industry, but I thought it was pretty complicated because of mass needed and scale and everything. And when I was on my exchange in Canada, I was actually starting to take it a bit more seriously, the idea of launching a business, because I thought that was actually a really good career path for me, because I was not really sure what I wanted to follow, but I knew for sure that I wanted someday to become an entrepreneur and start my own business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I have always been exposed to that kind of life. And I was like, that's for me again, but I'm not really sure when. At the time, I was actually finishing my last year of uni. I was in my first semester of last year. And there was a program by Banco Santander that just started in my university, or it was starting at the time. And I actually applied, and that program basically taught us the concept of the lean startup method over a course of 6 months with experts and everything. It was free, right? And I actually applied. There were some really, really nice projects as well. I think there was a total of 20. And that's why during this program, I actually had resources and information on how to proceed and how to lose or spend the less money possible in order to find whether or not what I'm thinking of is worth pursuing. That was basically the concept of it. I also knew some friends from high school that had been working at optical laboratories, and I actually told them about the idea and whether or not they thought that was possible, why something like this was not happening in Spain at the time. And I mean, there were a lot of things that actually seemed like this was a decent enough idea to go for, and that's why I went for it.
Cool. Sounds like you're enjoying the journey very much as well. So it's good to hear that. And if you would look at the longer run, right? If you look at your career moving forward, what are your plans at this stage, and how do you see it unfolding in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, for us, when we started a company, I was definitely trying to go for like, okay, this has to be a rocket ship, and at some point we're gonna sell the company and we're gonna make a living out of it. But actually, as time passes, I'm actually focusing more or really learning and enjoying the process of building a great company. And I mean, it's a company that grows fast. We like 2 years ago, it's going to come, like our second anniversary was coming close. But 2 years ago, I was alone, basically on my parents' house, just like preparing orders and everything. And today we are a staff of 20 people, and we're actually growing super fast. And we've been growing super fast since the day we started. And I've actually come to enjoy the process because I've learned a lot. I've learned about management skills. I've learned about operations. I've learned about technology, marketing, basically everything, because you have to become a jack of all trades in order to more or less try to succeed when starting a business. Starting a business, like, you go against all the odds. Like when you start, you're not supposed to be fine. You're not supposed to raise capital. You're not supposed to be alive after 3 years. That's basically the thing. And running a business is more about like surviving all these odds and all these statistics. So the process has been incredibly rewarding, and I really hope that I'm just on the tip of the iceberg, because our goal now is definitely to create a really sustainable business, both in practice but also in terms of economical value, and we really learn the whole thing. Obviously, right now, COVID has been a big impact on our business, but apart, obviously, from the catastrophe that on a sanitary level COVID has been, business-wise, it's been like probably the best thing that has happened to us, because it allows us to think outside of the box all the time and act super quickly, and just not like focus on implementing, but more focus on learning, thinking, and being creative, which is something that when you start is basically your day-to-day, but as you grow, you're more focused on implementing the stuff that you've learned. And I really like the process of learning new stuff, and really like the process of thinking outside of the box. and moving super quickly. So this is basically like an MBA squared, because you're just like doing everything all the time. No one knows what they're doing, so it's absolutely fantastic.
So this crisis is also an opportunity for you to rethink some aspects of your business, come up with new solutions, new ideas. So you don't seem to be too much distressed, or at least it didn't shake your ambitions for the company, I guess. And you seem to be moving stronger with this process.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for us, it was more about like being able to get rid of everything that we had done in the past 2 years. And obviously, we're a strong competitor in our industry, but it's a really legacy one. And obviously, the optical industry is like huge, but still there are massive players. And we always thought that what we were trying to do was basically like a David versus Goliath, because I mean, we have like a lot of bold ideas and really talented team and everything, but we don't have the resources a company that sells 10 billion euros a year has. And obviously, trying to win the race of whoever opens first 1,000 stores wins. We were not really in the position of winning that race. And that's what we knew and what we were fighting for, though, because, I mean, we didn't really have a different route. However, now with COVID, the rules have changed for basically everyone. And the smaller players like us that are really nimble and are thin, per se, as a business point of view, we are in the position to make changes faster and with less resources. And if we are able to find that market fit with the product in this new post-COVID era, if we are able to be the first ones to do so, we're definitely going to grow tenfold in comparison to what we would have grown in the natural environment. So,
So in looking at this whole process, you starting your business, also your time at university, you mentioned already your family, being a family of entrepreneurs. You know, what does this all tell about you and who you are and what you value? Also, the role you play in your company. How would you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a person that is a bit, I'm a bit just like all over the place. I have like a creative side, but not too creative. And I have an analytical side, but not the most analytical person you'll ever meet. So my role at the company, and ever since I was born, basically was like trying to cater those ends, just like trying to make everything work with I actually studied like pure sciences and got my honors and everything on pure sciences, but then I moved on to economics, and then on economics I was more likely to enjoy strategic the more strategic courses, but also like they're more related to marketing and storytelling. So for me, it was a bit all over the place, and I've always been like a super curious person. And for me, I've basically been able, when I started studying economics, I really learned that my passion was more about like creating stuff from my point of view, but applying my knowledge from studying a pure sciences baccalaureate and a pretty heavy economical degree to try to make sense to all that creativity that was happening or I could make happen. And I've been definitely a person that I was a good student when I was younger. At university, I was a bit more in the air during the first 2 years, but then I met my actual my girlfriend, which I met now, I think it is 6 years ago, and she's been able to like put me in my right place.
Give some focus.
Yeah, definitely, she's given me a lot of focus. And yeah, I mean, I feel like what I do right now is basically my natural position, and I actually created myself this position in a place where I can try to really like make both the creativity and the strategic more side of things work together.
To combine the creative, the scientific, and the business side into this new venture that you started. Good. Well, Oscar, if you would give any recommendations, or if you would want to give some takeaways to the people watching us, and maybe, if they're a bit younger, they're still probably wondering about what their future will look like given this crisis. What would be your main piece of advice there?
I think right now, there was a really good article by a Spanish founder of a tech company from years ago that said COVID-19 is going to be the biggest startup accelerator. As in, like, right now, being an entrepreneur or starting a business, I think that's just like one of the best times in history to do so. Historically, like in crisis, like 2001 dot-com crash or the financial crisis from 2008 2007, those actually fostered the creation of like really innovative companies. I think COVID is basically accelerating 3 to 4 years some market trends, and that is basically making it much better for small companies to innovate, because obviously big companies are gonna have more trouble innovating because they have legacy systems, they have an oversized structure, and right now the best thing about like being right now alive is basically being small. And I think whoever is willing to start someday a business, probably right now is the best time, obviously. And career wise, I mean, that's because something that I've like really felt closely, because I had a lot of friends that when I was starting my company, they were like, I mean, you are starting a company before going into like the actual market. Like, you're not really going to be working at a company for a couple of years and then go implement what you've learned for your own profit. And I was like, I mean, I don't know where in my life I'm going to be in such a position that I don't really have to worry about where I have to sleep at night, because I live with my parents still. That was when I was 23.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure when I'll be in a position again where I can afford to not earn any money in order to eat. Because for me, that was actually one of my teachers that told me, when I was asking him, do you think I should pursue this or not? I actually ended up winning the Santander program. And he was the coordinator of that, and he was like, he only asked me 2 questions, and he said, do you have where to sleep at night? And I was like, yes. And he was like, do you have something to eat every day, and you can assure that you will have something to eat for the next 6 months? And I'm like, yes, I'm pretty sure I can do that too. And he was like, then just go for it now, because you don't know when in your life you'll be able to do that again. And I was like, okay, that's a really good advice. And I actually followed that, and it worked out. And a lot of my friends told me at the time, you should really go work for a company first and then just like start your own thing. A lot of them started different masters, different stuff. And most of them, in 2-3 years that have passed since we started uni, they feel like they're a bit lost. Some of them are starting their companies now. Some of them are just like really struggling to keep up with their current jobs because they're not really liking it. So I feel like if you ever have the feel like you want to start your own business at some point, for whatever reasons you may have, they might be economical, but I don't really recommend you're starting a business if you want to become rich, because I don't think it's the best idea. It's like it's a really slim chance that you will make it. So, but if you ever want to start your own company because you want to provide your creative point of view to the world in a business form, or you want to do it for whatever other reason, make sure that you can stay alive for a couple of months, and if you can assure that, just like go for it, because that's probably a good time to do it.
Very good. So this crisis again is an opportunity for people to consider the entrepreneurial path somehow. But I think also that these entrepreneurial skills that you are now developing as well will come very handy in all kind of situations in the future, in whatever career choice you make in the future. So I'm very curious to see how things will develop.
And there's another thing that I didn't really mention, but it's really related to this. But like, obviously, when you start a business and you have to learn a bit about everything that happens, you actually work really closely with many different kinds of professionals. If you go, for example, into consulting, you're going to be working with people that more or less do the same job as you, but just like they're more hands, right? And when you start a business, I have one of my co-founders is a physics engineer. The other one is an operations guy. The other one of the other persons that work for us is an optician, and the other one is like was one of the creative or art direction directors at one of the brands from Inditex. So the thing is, you learn a lot of like I've been able to like really expose to the working habits of all these people, and I've gathered a bit of the learnings from working with really heavy engineers and really creative people from fashion brands, and that has shaped me as a professional, because right now I have a much better, deeper understanding of how to take decisions and how to argument stuff and how to communicate. There's a lot of different things that you learn from really mixing it together with many other different professionals from different fields. So it's also really
sure, you have to combine different disciplines, and you as the founder in this case, even more so, you're the one responsible of connecting the dots and making sure that the whole thing works together. So you have a unique opportunity to learn from all kind of areas and different disciplines in ways that you're right, in many ways in the corporate world might take longer for you to have that opportunity. Well, Oscar, thank you very much. It was really useful and helpful to get your insights and your takeaways and how you look at your own experience, but also how you recommend and maybe share your insights for others to follow watching us. We'll be following you as well and taking good close eye to your development, and maybe one day we'll also need to buy sunglasses from you as well.
We're coming to Portugal in the near future, so hopefully it will actually happen. So yeah, that would be awesome, definitely.
There you go. If you need any help, we're here to help for you as well. All right.
Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, lots of luck with everything.
All right. Good luck. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.